What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today we are looking at Blast Open Lisbon 2025 groups. And in the EPL playoffs, I had this lineup. I think just pretty much went as I could have hoped, except for the fact that Spirit lost to Mouse. So Brolan actually had good points before they played in the finals. And I chickened out against Spirit, and everything was looking good, but then Spirit just didn't show up for that match, unfortunately. So missed out on some points in that, but it wasn't a complete disaster either. And then like Rops and Apex, pretty good players for their price in this event as well. So top 20, 20%, 12 points, and we move on. It was a very, I would say, pretty low risk lineup. I did expect Vitality to make the finals and such. Usually playoffs lineups, in my opinion, is you can't gamble on too much because usually the best teams show up in the playoffs. Let's see what we can do in the Blast Open Lisbon groups, if we can figure out something a bit riskier or something a bit more exciting. But either way, yeah, this was pretty decent. For Blast Open Lisbon, it's two groups of double elimination, and I'm assuming, yeah, 3 teams out of each group advance into the playoffs. So you want to get the teams that go straight to upper finals at the very least. Like losing in the upper finals still means that you are seeded directly into the playoff bracket. So losing in the final isn't that much of a problem, but losing before the finals means that you have to play some extra games and you're gonna get less padding. So yeah, I think there's some risk involved in picking teams that you don't expect to make it to the upper finals directly. In Group A, I think in the whole event, actually, the one obvious super lopsided matchup is Spirit versus the Huns. This looks like a matchup where all of the Spirit players should be getting pretty high ratings. I wouldn't expect much from the Huns. Of course, there's always the possibility of some weird upsets. Especially Blast events are a bit famous for that for some reason, I think. But yeah, this is the most lopsided matchup, and I would assume that Spirit is gonna crush them. And that's like, it's hard for me to not go for 2 Spirit players when their first matchup is this much easier than that of many other teams. Then I won't click on the thing again. There's a weird bug or something in my Chrome browser. Mouse Falcons, I think Mouse definitely favored, but Falcons could put up a decent fight. And also like the fact that even if Mouse wins and makes it against Spirit, I still would favor Spirit over Mouse in general, even though just a couple days ago Mouse did beat Spirit. I still think Spirit is favored in that matchup, even though it's pretty close. Then Vitality Astralis, Vitality obvious favorites. I think they are in incredible form. Yeah, I think they beat Astralis pretty much every day. FaZe VP, I would say FaZe is favored, but VP is like a weird team where the firepower is there to do stuff. Like both of these teams have pretty good firepower. FaZe, I would say, much higher, but aren't really hitting their best stride yet. I would favor FaZe though, but I wouldn't be considering FaZe much. I think the safest team to go for from Group A is probably Vitality, because they should always make it straight to the upper finals. They should beat either FaZe or VP and Astralis quite easily, I think. Whereas Spirit and Mouse, either one of them could win in the upper semis, but Spirit should get quite a lot of points from their match against the Huns. So make of that what you will. Group B, G2 Imperial. Honestly, I smell that there could be an upset, because G2 has not impressed me at all. I think if their stars like m0NESY and Malbs don't show up, they are in deep trouble, even against teams like Imperial. In general, still G2 is favored, of course, but I have no faith in this G2 lineup. EF Liquid is pretty interesting. I think maybe one of the closest, perhaps actually the closest opening matchup. I think Eternal Fire should be favored, but Liquid is they're decent enough that they can definitely put up a fight and even take the match against DF if they are not on their game. It's weird. I think this group of 4 teams is much weaker than like Spirit, Mouse, Vitality, FaZe. But, you know, one of these teams is gonna make it to the upper finals. I would, if I had to bet, I would say Eternal Fire, but I don't want to go for any of those teams really, because G2 Eternal Fire could go either way. Eternal Fire Liquid could go really either way, and even Imperial could beat G2. I'm not very happy to pick any of those teams really. The Mongols M80, I think the Mongols should be very favored. They usually are very consistent at beating these teams that are lower ranked than them. So I would be very confused if M80 beat the Mongols here. I don't think that's gonna happen. Navi, Furia, kind of the same thing. I think Furia's level is just not high enough. Of course, Navi has had their struggles, but I still would expect them to at least beat Furia here in their first match. In like following matches, it like Navi, Mongols. Of course, the Mongols did beat Navi last time they played. Although the time before that, Navi did actually 2 of them. So like they're 1-1 in matches this year. But I still favor Navi slightly. And it's a weird one. I am a fan of Navi, so it's hard to like root against them or like pick against them as well. But honestly, it's pretty 50-50 if I have to give an honest opinion on the Mongols versus Navi right now. Yeah, because it's a 50-50 essentially, and I think the Mongols are priced more fairly than Navi. They are definitely an option here. Like if we go into actually looking at player prices, like these are the most picked players. You can already see that Techno is like the most picked player in the event, and I think that's honestly just fair. 186 when like someone like Snax is 183, Alexis 188. Like Techno is still one of a player with the potential to frag out against definitely like an M80 or even Navi. So I think the Mongols players are pretty cheap this time around, and that makes for some potentially really strong lineups. Other players who are picked a lot, like Apex and Rops, of course, based off Vitality doing really well. All 4 of these players are in here. Personally, I'm probably not gonna go towards Vitality just because the player prices are pretty high. And they have slightly more difficult opponents than Spirit. I don't think I can go Spirit. Or like I don't think I want to go Vitality when I feel like the potential to farm a lot of points is just higher for Spirit. That's essentially what it comes down to for me. Like I think Vitality is a stronger team, but they have a slightly more difficult route through the upper finals, and they don't have the potential of farming a team like the Huns for a really like a lot of points. Like I think Donk against this team is gonna just destroy. Also, Donk is not one of the most picked players. Spirit in general slightly underpicked in my eyes. And you have to kind of go either Vitality or Spirit. And I'd rather gamble on Spirit, especially with their first matchup. I think the first matchup, like if these were flipped, like if Spirit was the number 1 seed and Vitality was the number 2 seed, I guess. Either way, like if the seeding went in a way where Vitality played against the Huns in the first round, I would definitely be going for Vitality. But I have enough faith in Astralis putting up a bit of a fight against Vitality, whereas this I think could be like double 13-5s or whatever. And especially I think Donk is just gonna crush, so I'm very tempted to go for a Donk lineup. He's just slightly too good of a player right now. And then I think Chopper is the easy one to go for alongside him, just to make up the money difference. And if you go for these, you of course have to make some sacrifice, or you have to go for some cheaper players in other teams. That's why I wouldn't go for Navi here. Too expensive, just in general. I think the player prices here are not worth it for this event, because you can go for the Mongols, whose players are just cheaper, and who I think have pretty much an even chance to make it to upper finals. And that brings in Techno and Mizzinu as like obvious picks, because they are the cheapest guys, and you have 180k, and you can kind of make a choice about who you bring in as your fifth. So honestly, like this is basically what I did in my first draft, and I'm probably gonna go with this here as well. It's hard for me to go with anything apart from this because of the first matchups. So the only question I have honestly left for myself is which fifth player I want to go for. I think Carrigan is probably not the pick I want to go for because VP is a tough opponent. He could get kind of crushed there. I think Vitality, he's gonna get kind of crushed. I think he's just got too low of a potential firepower. Kixan is an interesting option because I actually expect Falcons to lose to Mouse in the first match, but then they would play against the Huns, and Kixan would have like the potential to farm some points again. Just with the same kind of rationale why you would pick Spirit. And then I think like, first of all, I think the lower finals stuff happens in a different way here. Like, I don't think you play against the loser of this if you win here. I don't believe that's how it works, at least. So I think you play against the loser of this, then we phase. Falcons is weird. Like, this is the problem. Like, I think Falcons is not as good of a team here. And I don't expect as much from them. But then they are playing against the Huns. Whereas, like, I think the other good option, I wouldn't go for KDN, but I could see myself going JKS. I think JKS is just a pretty damn solid player for this price. Slightly, I think, mispriced, honestly. I don't know why he's this cheap. I think he could be a bit more expensive. But either way, JKS, like, kind of similar problems in that I think they could struggle in some of the games here. But Group B in general is just a bit easier, so they could make a run here. They could beat Eternal Fire even. It's really a toss-up in my eyes between JKS and Kixan. But I think what it comes down to in the end is that JKS has such a high support round percentage, and you can go for that role and trigger it more consistently, that I think JKS is just better. Also, the fact that I just think JKS firepower wise is better than Kixan is. So I think this is my team. I'm trying to think of anything that I'm missing, but I don't think I'm missing anything. I'll just order it in a way where Donk is in the middle. Get JKS on the side. Yeah, I'm just happy with this lineup. I think, like, if you wanted to go for Vitality, I totally understand that. I would probably be going towards Apex and then any of the other players. Honestly, all of these players could be of the best picks for their price points. I think I'd avoid Navi here just because Mongols seems like a better pick on paper. Eternal Fire, I think, honestly, like Santaris for 219 looks pretty juicy. Like, these player prices are pretty good. So if you have faith in Eternal Fire, you can go there. And like, Mouse Sports. You could go Mouse Sports, of course. Like, they are maybe slightly favored. Like, I don't know, I think Spirit's favored, but maybe in reality Mouse is slightly favored against Spirit in the upper semis if they play against each other there. But I don't know. I just don't think I want to go towards Mouse here. The player prices are pretty good, but I don't know. I like these options better. It's a lot of money to throw on Donk, but I have faith that he's gonna carry. I think he's gonna carry this lineup. Just because, like, even if they lose, he's gonna get to play a lot more, and he's gonna get those points every time. It's just so consistent that it makes sense to me. Yeah, so role-wise, I think one obvious role here, headshots. Second obvious role here, support. And then we can think about other stuff. I would say IGL, probably on Chopper. Like, I don't... Or wait, no. Could it be eco-friendly? Or is that just better on someone like 35, 9, 44? Question is, we could go IGL Techno as well. Maybe that's actually the way to go here. And like eco-fragger on Chopper. Let's try that out. I think that's fair enough. Eco-friendly here, eco-fragger here, or eco-friendly, and then multi-fragger is probably the best on donk. Yup. And then booster-wise, I mean KST probably has to go on donk. I don't think he's gonna have too many weird non-impact rounds. Pistol is one of these I want to use early, sure. Grenade kills, AKS, sure. Just put on some of the good boosters. Chopper, I think Chopper I wouldn't go to this because I expect them to have the econ for better guns. So what do I actually give Chopper then? Flash assist. Don't know how many flashes they need. Like, this is the kind of thinking I go through when I pick these boosters. Cannon fodder, I think he's gonna survive more than that. This is kind of the problem, right? Maybe I go for this. I don't know. And then Techno. Rambo. I should have enough games to play pretty much every booster. Cannon fodder is actually his best role. I think that's fine. M80 is pretty okay as a team. So this is what I'm going with. I think this just makes too much sense to me, this lineup. I didn't really even consider many other lineups because this just seems like the best one. I think Vitality could definitely be still just the best team to pick, but I want to go a bit different here. Not just for the best team right now. I don't think Navi makes that much sense. The real thing here is that one of these 4 teams is going to be a pretty damn good pick. Or players from one of these 4 teams. Because one of these teams is making straight to the upper finals, and I have no idea which of them is going to do that. It could be G2, probably isn't Imperial. It could be EF, and it could be Liquid. So maybe I'm also a bit gambling on the fact that JKS could go 2-0 there and get some easy points from that. Yeah, just makes sense to me. Either way, if you enjoy this kind of content, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.